Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Quick Rundowns. I'm your host, and today we've got one of the hottest topics in combat sports right now, the ongoing beef between Tank Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul.
Just posted that he would beat the brakes off of you if you guys fight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be down. Let's run it. Like, I'll be super down. I don't know if
Gervonta needs Jake Paul. Let's be clear, right?
is there a height limit in boxing?
Now, this is more than just another celebrity beef or a couple of YouTubers talking trash. This is about two worlds of boxing colliding. The world of pure discipline boxing versus the world of social media stunts and spectacle. And let me tell you, this is a battle that could change the way we look at the sport of boxing. But it's not just about who's talking smack. It's about what these challenges mean for the future of combat sports. But first, before we get into it, let's set the stage for the latest drama. So here's where we're at. Gervonta Davis, the undefeated boxing sensation, just dropped some serious heat on Jake Paul. And when I say serious, I mean, he called him out publicly in a way that shocked the entire boxing community. Tank posted on his social media that he would beat the brakes off Jake Paul if they stepped into the ring together. And it wasn't just a casual, hey, we should fight sometime. No. Tank was sending a message. He's had enough of Jake Paul's antics.
Right? It wasn't pay-per-view. And B, pretty good night of fights leading up to that point. And what did you want? Did you want Tyson to get brutally knocked out? Did you want him stretchered? Because guess what? Those same people would have said, oh, he murdered him. He murdered him. What did you want? You wanted Tyson to knock out Jake? And then they would have said, oh, the fix is in. Like, it's a lose-lose. But ultimately, what I think people are missing is that was 65 million households around the world watched boxing on a Friday night on Netflix on the biggest streaming platform. No one got hurt. It was somewhat competitive to a degree. Where's the problem? That's the part that I don't understand. Where's the problem?
Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with Gervonta Davis, let me give you some background. Tank is 29-0 with 27 KOs. That means he's knocked out nearly every opponent he's faced. He's an absolute powerhouse in the ring, known for his explosive speed, knockout power, and precision. His rise in the sport has been meteoric, and let's be real, he's one of the most feared fighters in the lightweight division right now. So when a champion like him calls out someone like Jake Paul, a social media sensation turned boxer, you better believe it's going to turn heads. But why is Tank so upset? What's the deal with the beef here? I'll tell you, it's not just a personal thing. Davis sees Jake Paul as a symbol of everything that's gone wrong with boxing today. And look, let's be honest here. Jake Paul's rise in boxing has been anything but traditional. He hasn't faced professional boxers until recently. And when he did, it was against people like Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley, former MMA fighters, not boxers by trade. These guys didn't have the kind of skill or experience to even challenge someone like Tank. And Jake's been building his career on spectacle, not merit.
People that watch the fight don't really watch boxing, so they probably thought the 58-year-old Mike Tyson was going to be the 18, 19-year-old Mike Tyson that they saw back in the day and was going to absolutely destroy Jake Paul, not realizing that Mike Tyson is an OAP. He's an old man and had no right to be in the ring. And Jake Paul is in his prime, drink prime. So I thought it was just, the whole thing was embarrassing, especially that Jake took the fight.
So, of course, Jake wasn't going to take this lying down. After Gervonta's post went viral, Jake Paul, being the showman that he is, clapped back in a big way. During a press conference, Jake made some pretty bold statements. You've probably seen the video. He's standing there smiling like he owns the place, and then he drops the line, is there a height limit in boxing?
Watching Netflix on Friday night, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson?
Yes, I was. But what did I make of it? I think commercially and a business sense, thought it was absolutely fantastic. Both men made a ton of money. So best luck to them. Congratulations. As far as the boxing fight, it wasn't a fight. It was a tip and tap. Don't hit me, I won't hit you. Circle the ring a little bit, make it look good.
He's referring to Tank's 5'5" frame versus Jake's 6'1" stature. Now, let me pause right here because this is where things get interesting. Some people thought it was funny, others found it disrespectful. Jake knows how to get people talking, but here's the thing. Mocking a fighter's height, that's low, real low. And it's easy to see why that would piss Tank off even more.
I mean, is that serious? Like, where are we at? Where are we at with that?
Oh, look, no one can offer any fights on behalf of Daniel except me and Queensbury. That's number one. Number two, would we do that fight in a heartbeat? Would Jake do it? No, I don't think he's certainly not ready to be fighting a Daniel Dubois. But you know what? It is what it is. And Daniel's next fight, he's been up the office today, and Daniel's next fight will be sorted out very, very soon, as we said at the start of the year.
Now, the funny part is that Jake seems to be positioning himself as the bigger draw, literally and figuratively. He went as far as to claim that he would be the A side in a potential fight with Tank. For those who might not know, in boxing terms, the A side refers to the bigger name, the fighter who draws more money, more attention, basically the one who calls the shots when it comes to negotiations. To hear Jake say that about Tank, a fighter with years of experience and a flawless record, is pretty audacious. But hold up, before we get carried away with the smack talk, let's take a step back. What is this really all about? Is this just Jake Paul being Jake Paul, trying to keep the spotlight on himself? Or is there something deeper going on here?
Happened with Mike Tyson. What do you think the blowback from that victory that he had last Friday night will be?
Well, you know, Jake Paul has shown that he has the ability to generate revenue, and that's why I'm sure that most of these top guys in and around that weight class, Saturday boss man, in and around that weight class is looking forward.
See, the thing is, the reason this beef between Tank and Jake matters so much is because of the larger issue at play here. Jake Paul isn't just some celebrity crossing over into boxing. He's bringing in a new audience, an audience that doesn't necessarily care about the history of the sport or the intricacies of professional boxing. And while that's good for the business side of things, more eyeballs, more pay-per-view buys, it's also pissing off the purists. Boxing, especially in the professional ranks, is a sport built on blood, sweat, and tears. It's about earning your place through years of dedication, through hard-fought battles, and through respect for the history and tradition of the sport. Jake, on the other hand, has taken a completely different approach. He's built his name off of YouTube and social media, creating spectacles around his fights, drawing attention with trash talk, and promoting himself as a villain in the boxing world. And for some, that's entertaining. For others, that's downright disrespectful. What Gervonta Davis sees in Jake Paul is someone who hasn't earned his place. Someone who's using the sport as a stepping stone to boost his own fame and wealth. And you know what? He's not wrong. Jake hasn't faced a legitimate, skilled professional boxer until recently. And even then, his biggest win came against Tommy Fury, a fighter who, let's be honest, wasn't exactly the cream of the crop either.
You know, he's gone from being a YouTuber to actually taking out a licensed box. He's fought licensed fighters. He fought Tommy Fury, got beat in a, I'd say it's a very close contest, but there weren't a lot in the fight at a certain stage of it. And he's done brilliant well. What he's done, he's monetized his, if you want to call it, notoriety of his former background as being, was it a prankster or candid camera, as we called it in my day. He's done all that. He's done that brilliantly and very cleverly. And the fight that they did, or the event, I should say, they did at the weekend, was a bloody good event. There was some good fights on the card. The main event was what it was. And would he fight Daniel Dubois? If he did, I'm being very honest, if he did, that would probably be the end of his career as a boxer. He's not ready for a Daniel Dubois.
That's why Tank and other fighters like Artur Beterbiev and Daniel Dubois are so frustrated. Jake is calling himself a boxer, but he hasn't been in the ring with anyone on the level of a Beterbiev or Tank Davis. And that's why Tank's call out is such a big deal. This isn't just about the fight. It's about what Jake Paul represents to the sport as a whole.
We were talking about Jake Paul earlier. He has his eyes at 175 champion Beterbiev now, and Daniel Dubois wants to fight him. I'm curious, what would a fight between you and Jake look like? Would it get out of the first round, or?
Jake is my friend, but I don't know. What do you think would win?
Exactly. Beterbiev, the undefeated Russian powerhouse who is a legitimate champion at light heavyweight, has also thrown his name into the mix, saying he wants to fight Jake. And let's not forget, Beterbiev's got a knockout record that's nearly as insane as Tank's. 19 wins, 19 knockouts. The man's a wrecking machine. And Jake, well, he's played it safe, and now these real boxers are calling him out. Eager to show the world what happens when Jake steps into the ring with someone who's actually trained for years to fight at the highest level. But wait, it's not just Beterbiev. Daniel Dubois, the heavyweight contender, has also expressed interest in fighting Jake Paul. Dubois is a knockout artist who hits harder than just about anyone in boxing right now. And he's calling out Jake for a reason, because he knows Jake's not ready for a fight with someone like him. Now, here's the thing about Jake Paul. He's smart. He knows how to stir the pot, he knows how to sell a fight, and he knows how to keep the spotlight on himself. But at some point, the spectacle has to end. At some point, the money isn't enough to carry him. He has to prove that he can actually fight a real top-tier boxer. Well, let's talk about Jake's actual response to these call-outs. As expected, Jake wasn't backing down. He's got that confidence. Some would even call it arrogance. After Tank's challenge went viral, Jake wasted no time firing back at a press conference. His usual trash talk was in full effect, but this time it wasn't just about height jokes and throwing around insults. Jake seemed more serious about a potential fight with Tank than we've ever seen before.
You fighting Jake Paul, man? You talking about that? Huh? I'm an old man now. I've been retired 7 years. I ain't touched a boxing gym in 7 years. Why y'all want me to fight Jake? Gotta say my name, though. I can't even entertain it. You gotta say my name. Ain't nobody said my name in 7 years. There's a reason for that. You gotta say my name. We might be able to talk about it. Maybe something I can think about, but it's time that bro start, he got to fight somebody that's a real threat, because we know he can sell. We know all of that, but what he's after is legitimacy. He's trying to legitimize himself. And Canelo don't take that fight, which he said he wasn't going to do it, man. You got to fight somebody that's going to give you some clout, whether you win or lose.
Jake walked into the press conference wearing his usual swagger and told the reporters that he would take on whoever in the ring. He said, "Let's make it happen." And honestly, I could see a part of him genuinely wanting that fight. But here's the question. Is Jake ready for it? Tank is a real fighter. He's been in the trenches for years. Is Jake Paul ready to face someone like that? Or is he just looking to make the most money possible while avoiding any real risks? Here's the big question. Is Jake Paul the future of boxing, or is he a sideshow that's going to disappear once the real fighters come calling? Look, I'm not saying Jake doesn't have potential. He's proven that he's willing to put in the work, and he's shown real improvements in his boxing technique. But boxing is a brutal, unforgiving sport, and it's a different animal when you step into the ring with someone who's been fighting professionally for over a decade. Tank Davis? He's been fighting since he was 7 years old. And now, as a 29-year-old world champion, he's got the skills to back up that confidence. Jake, meanwhile, is still finding his footing. But here's what makes this feud so interesting. Jake Paul is drawing attention to boxing. He's bringing in a new audience, a younger generation, and that's something the sport needs. But there's a catch. You can't just keep fighting washed-up fighters and expect to be respected. Eventually, the boxing world is going to demand more from Jake, and that's what's happening right now. The question is Jake Paul willing to face that challenge? Will he step up to fight the likes of Tank Davis, or will he keep picking opponents who are easier to defeat? It's a tricky situation. On one hand, Jake's got the celebrity and the following to make any fight a blockbuster event. On the other hand, he's got to prove he can hang with the best of the best. Look, At the end of the day, the fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul would be huge for boxing. It would bring in mainstream attention and put a spotlight on the sport that hasn't been seen in years. But it's bigger than just the fight itself. It's about the future of boxing and whether or not spectacle and real skill can coexist in this new age of combat sports. Tank Davis is the real deal. A champion, a knockout artist, and a threat to anyone in the ring. Jake Paul, for all his hype and theatrics, has a long way to go before he's truly ready for the likes of Tank. So what's going to happen? Is Jake going to take the fight? Will Tank get his hands on Jake? Or will Tank keep fighting on his terms, cashing in on big paydays with lesser opponents? The drama is far from over, and we're here for all of it. Let me know what you think. Do you want to see Tank versus Jake? Or is this whole feud just a gimmick that'll die out soon? That's it for today's episode of Quick Rundowns. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown, and as always, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think would win in a fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis? And what's next for Jake in his boxing career? I want to hear from you. Catch you next time.